Welcome to Everything Life Coaching, exploring the art, science, and business of coaching with your host, Noelle Cordeaux, CEO of Lumia. Each week, we dive into cutting-edge coaching trends, interview industry experts, and provide practical insights to help you thrive on your coaching journey. Get ready to expand your coaching toolkit and transform lives, including your own.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everything Life Coaching. I am Noelle, and today we have a very special episode with our beloved instructor, my favorite coach, one of my coaches, Bonnie. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Yeah, I mean, I would just say that I'm an acquired taste or an acquired distaste. So you can make your own ideas about what it would be like to work with me. There you go.
Well, it's been one of the greatest experiences and honors of my lifetime to be in partnership with you in lots of different ways. And
likewise.
Thank you.
All right,
Today,
I got you.
we are here to talk about a topic that I find sexy, enlivening, and fascinating, which is ethics. And I know that not everyone feels the same way. And I want to give folks a little bit of a window into who you are as a full human in the world, not just a coach, not just a coach trainer, not just a coaching supervisor and mentor, but you've lived quite a life. And ethics, I imagine, has been at the core of how you have learned to navigate a very complex and ever-changing world. So would you like to give us a bio?
For those of you that know me in the Lumia community, I did retire from the government. And, the truth of the matter is I retired from the CIA. And so I had a really wonderful career there. I got to do some really cool things. But I mean, ethics was a real foundational piece of what went on with all of us. And, distinguishing between, when you were going to be somebody else and when you had to be completely truthful. And so there's a lot of ethics in that space of understanding what is an ethical dilemma. And not just I might get caught, but what is this really about for me? And what are my foundational values in this place? And I think, so I tend to view ethics through the lens of what are the values that are being proposed here? And then how do those values land with me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And values alignment, ethics is so part and parcel of the coaching conversation. And that was a very humble bio. Everyone, Bonnie was in charge of thousands and thousands of people and was a chief at the CIA. So we are dealing with big deals with capital B's here, which is always fun. And as we're centering our conversation on ethics, on the ICF Code of Ethics, on using values as a compass, not only for our clients, but also for ourselves as coaches. The reason that we're talking today is because the ICF has made some changes to their code of ethics. And we want everyone to be up to date, abreast of those changes. And we also do not want folks to freak out. If you are preparing for this upcoming credentialing exam, things have changed, not that much. Things have been rearranged, and we have some new definitions and terms to get to. So there's quite a bit to dig in here, but it's all pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I think the reality of it is to remember the ICF's not the coaching police. And I say that a lot in class because everybody goes like the ICF, as if somehow or other there's this cloud looming over you that is ICF. The ICF is not the coaching police. It's a credentialing organization. And it's a credentialing organization that was started by coaches. So it's not an external body that came in to put some sort of something over the top of us. It's really something that we started ourselves and that we buy into as a way to, distinguish what we do from anybody who hangs a shingle out and says, today I'm a coach.
Absolutely.
So there's a rigor to the training. There's a rigor to just how we do our thing. But there's also an understanding of being aware of what are the ethics that are involved in being part of something bigger than you.
Yeah, part of something that's bigger than you, and also part of being a human service professional. one of the things that attracted me to the International Coaching Federation as an organization was the fact that they had a really robust code of ethics, and that coaching itself is a discipline that is grounded in a code of ethics. I think what folks tend to do when they think of a code of ethics is exactly as you said, to come from a punitive perspective and that little kid feeling of, am I going to get in trouble? The way that I have experienced the ICF Code of Ethics is it's been bumpers on the bowling lanes of both communication and conduct. And it gives us a roadmap, touchstones, pointers, little lights along the way for things that you need to think about and things that you need to be aware of, and also a really protective shield around, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, this is who I am, this is who I am not.
Yeah, I think it really lays it out in a very nice way. And it also addresses, I think, pieces that are important to all of us. So with I think the revision of the Code of Ethics, nothing really changed except they rebend things. So they changed the headings. It used to be, there were 4: responsibility to clients, responsibility to practice and performance, responsibility to professionalism, and responsibility to society. They've rebended under, I think, things that are a little easier to understand: agreements to client and or sponsor, confidentiality and legal compliance, professional conduct and conflicts of interest. I mean, things that mean more: commitment to delivering consistent value, and professional integrity and accountability. But I think the bigger piece is it also aligns up to what the ICF's core values are. And the core values are professionalism, equity, collaboration, and humanity.
Yes.
So when you start to break it down, you can see very clearly where these fit into that ecosystem of who we say we are.
Yes. Who we say we are and what we're doing. And what I really appreciated as you were listing off the new headlines, as someone who has lived with and studied both the ICF Code of Ethics and the ICF core competencies, I was able to tell immediately, just by the subject headings, what the core components of each topic might be. So for coaches who are out there practicing in the world, maybe they're looking to move from their ACC to their PCC to MCC, and they are through the credentialing process. What do practicing coaches need to know about what this new code means to them?
Well, I think, again, it's a rebinning. They really haven't updated the exam to match this. But if you start to look at how we as coaches operate, the client is always the focus. So at the core of everything is that client. And so when you think about what are the agreements for client and our sponsor, it's putting the client first. And so it's saying that we understand the profession that we're in and we hold our client to be the most important thing. So it's not focused on the coach, it's focused on the client. Why do we have agreements? We have agreements so that there's clarity for the client and the sponsor, what to expect in coaching. And so, you expect me to not give you advice. You expect me to hold your agenda. You expect me to be clear about what confidentiality is. You expect all these things to be very clear. And so I think that's the piece of it, just focusing out away from you. What do people want to know about what you do? If you move into that confidentiality and legal compliance, I mean, we talk about the fact in class a lot. Confidentiality starts from the day you start coaching, talking about coaching, and it never expires. So the confidentiality is about how you hold the relationship with the client. Client can talk about whatever they want to talk about to whomever, but you hold that confidential, except when there's threats to themselves or others, or there's something illegal going on, in which case, or you were subpoenaed. Those would be conversations you would have about what to do, and hopefully you have it with a client about what to do.
One of the things that I noticed about some of the updates, especially in confidentiality, is that, and I really appreciated this, that the ICF Code of Ethics is moving along with the march of time. And there has been a little bit of an increased scrutiny around different types of technologies and how those might factor into being a part of an ICF professional's world. Previously, it was the ICF professional, and we had maybe some support staff. And now it seems like we're really expanding that to think about organizations, recording devices, technology. So, how do we contextualize this in terms of our responsibility to clients?
Well, I mean, it used to be we just paid attention to where the data was. But now with the advent of AI and these other pieces, it's going to be being more mindful about where you're putting data out. So obviously, you would not give client specific data because the reality of it is if you're not in some sort of a closed system, you're going to wind up feeding into, the oceans of data that are out there that AI is going to skim from. So you wouldn't want to put identifying information about your clients out there. Now, you could, in very general terms, use AI. I'm working on a subject that's like this. What would be a great question to ask? But you would want to be really mindful of anything that's client specific.
Yeah. And something that I'm thinking about is the role of note taking. A lot of times, folks will use plugins to record client conversations and even have the bot sort and give a summary with key points discussed. Now, if the coach is not using incognito mode, and even if they are, there's no guarantee that client's information is going into the ether. So right there, that utilization does to a certain extent negate confidentiality. In that case, we would have to sign off with the client before using the technology. Not to say we can't use it, but it's a matter of conversation of client. This is a tool. It's worked for me in the past. Let's acknowledge where this information goes and the lack of control we have over it. How do you want to proceed? Did that align with your understanding of how this new code is functioning?
Yeah, I mean, it really does address the technology. It addresses things like making sure that you're citing your sources. So they're really big on the idea of plagiarism. A lot of people are doing studies, they're doing different things because our knowledge of how coaching works and this thing we call positive psychology is growing. There's a lot of studies being funded. There's a lot of work going into this, a lot of writing happening. Cite your sources. So right off the bat. So they're hard over on that. But the other piece of it is know where the data's going. And so I have clients that'll ask me, can we record our sessions? Absolutely. And then I send the recording to them and I delete it because it's not my recording. I also have clients that I ask, can I record this session? I'm getting ready to start. I'm starting to work on my master coaching. And so I'm going to need to record some sessions. I'll ask my clients, just like we tell Lumia students, ask permission to record and to share with an assessor. So the client has full awareness and can say yes or no. And it will be shared no further. I'd like to share with an assessor.
Now that we have this new code in place, what are some things that ICF assessors might be looking for in recordings when folks are going to be submitting?
Well, I think the bigger thing is, it's going to be the same thing that you would always look for in the space of ethics. Most of it has not changed. Ethics is very clear about not giving advice, about not setting the agenda, about the things that, I would call really the mortal sins of coaching, if you will, right? Where you set the agenda for the client, or you fall into giving advice to the client, or you are judging the client. So you're taking agency from the client. Those are the pieces that will automatically fall in that ethical piece of responsibility to practice and performance in the old days, but really professional conduct and conflicts of interest and commitment to delivering consistent value. It's going to be that professionalism piece, right? All of those things that fall into that. Those are things that we don't do in coaching. If it's client focused, it will be curiosity about the client. It will be holding the client's agenda. If it's coach focused, it's going to be moving toward an outcome as quickly as you can. And so I listen to that a lot in the recordings that I work with the mentees here is, who's the focus on of this conversation? Is it on the coach's wisdom or is it on the client's wisdom? And ethically, coaching holds that the wisdom comes from the client.
Always. We're pulling out of the client. We're not, pouring in. So
Pouring into the client. That's exactly right. And so if you even look at how all of I think what we're going to see is the core competencies will be revised over the next year or two. and they will start to match it. There's an ecosystem that's being built here, and I think more closely aligning the pieces of the ecosystem. It will be much more clear how it all fits together, as opposed to this standalone code that you read and you go like, okay, so those are the rules. Now let me go do this thing.
Yes. And of course, whenever we say changes are coming, everybody freaks out. And the big question is what does this mean for me? What does this mean for me in my practice? What does this mean for me in my future credential renewal, so on and so forth?
I
And
think the bigger piece is it turns an active voice as opposed to, I mean, I said the last time that they rewrote the competencies, I called it Yoda-izing them to some degree. It's not, we're going to try, we're going to see if we can. It was like, you're going to do this. Here's what you do. I mean, as a coach, I will, as opposed to, as a coach, I'll try. As we've grown in our knowledge of what we can do and how we need to be with our clients to maximize their capacity. These are things that we just accept that we can. And not only can we do.
something that I'm seeing that I'm really excited about with the updates to the Code of Ethics, future updates to the competencies, and even the introduction of coaching supervision as its own modality within coaching, it seems like coaches themselves are getting more and more clarity, more and more support, and more resources as true and deep professionals in a very specific craft. I noticed that coaching supervisor was one of the new definitions in the ICF Code of Ethics. Can you talk a little bit about how that's different from mentor coaching?
So the coaching supervision piece, I mean, and as I went through certification a couple of years ago, and my husband was like, why would anybody hire a supervisor? And I was like, yeah, it's not exactly what you're thinking. Okay. It's not like I'm going to tell you what to do. It's really, I mean, again, it kind of aligns back to that psychology space, the positive psychology. Whereas people that are familiar with psychology know that in psychology and in therapy, you do have supervision, but it's not somebody telling you what to do. It's somebody helping creating a reflective space for you and bringing all of it into play. So they're not, it's really about a conversation about something where you allow everything to be you know, on the table. So I'm feeling these things, and your supervisor can say, I notice what you're feeling, but I'm noticing that I'm feeling something else. And I'm wondering, how does what I'm feeling maybe interact with what's happening here? And so it's a conversation where you really look at, it feels like there's a parallel between what you're experiencing with your client and what you and I are experiencing right here. What are you noticing about this parallel? But it's surfacing, I think, more than just this, I know something's wrong, I'm wondering what it is, and allowing you to go deep into this. I know something's wrong, and I'm wondering what else I need to be paying attention to. A lot of times what I've noticed is ethics issues come up. It could be the contract. Like, I've got all these things going on, and and I'm just not sure. And one of the questions could be, what's the contract about? Do you need to go back and recontract for what you're doing? I've had clients in my supervision world that have said, I really don't have a good contract here. And it might be time to go ahead and update my contract. But in updating the contract, there might be recognition that, they could say, I'm kind of over this right now. So you're hanging on to what you had versus allowing what could be.
Exactly. And so, the supervision piece is support for the coach as a human service professional, support for the personal experience of the coach in having this interface with clients, with ethics, with contracting, with growth, and how do you contextualize and internalize. And then mentor coaching is helping folks align the competencies, align with right practice. Some other pieces that I think we can touch on as we're moving on from the difference between coaching mentor and coaching supervisor is that in the definitions there's a few new ones: external coach, group coaching, ICF assessor, what it means to be ICF certified, internal coach, and team coaching. What do folks need to know about all of these different designations?
Okay. I think the way that I would maybe, and I think that's exactly right on the mark. So mentor coaching is, I'm allowed to pour my wisdom into you as a mentor. In the supervision space, all of the wisdom is held up. And we get to discuss all of the wisdom in the room, because there might be some client wisdom that needs to be discussed too. But it's really looking at all of the different relationships that are going on in a way that allows each one of them to be examined individually, but understanding that there could be so many parallels going on at once, so that you can sort them out, but really have that fulsome conversation about all of the wisdom that's here, as opposed to just my wisdom or your wisdom. It's our wisdom. Well, I think there's a recognition that coaching is maturing in how it's used. I mean, I can remember, when I was first introduced to coaching, lo and behold, way back in the 90s. I mean, the reality of it was very much business oriented. There's a lot of borrowed words that we use in coaching because, well, there weren't any other words that really sounded as good, frankly, I think. But there's a recognition that there's just more than one-on-one coaching. I mean, team coaching has become a big thing. Group coaching has become a big thing because people can learn from each other. And so, so you can magnify, I think, a lot the impact. If you have a like-minded group of people that want to work on a topic together, imagine the amount of learning that they can get from each other as they move through. And support groups are not new. I mean, there's support groups for everything. And so imagine having a group that is experiencing some of what you're experiencing, but everybody experiences it differently. You can support each other on your journeys, or bringing a team together to coach them so that they really are supporting each other as they move toward their mission with very clear, defined goals. A lot of times when you're working with a team or a group, everybody thinks they know what's going on. But until you really have that conversation, most people just think they know what's going on.
I think it's great that there's such a designation between team and group, because if folks are functioning on a team and where they have diverse roles, they're all moving forward with the same goal, a common goal, and there's going to be interpersonal dynamics therein. Communications probably going to be front and center stage in team coaching, skill, expectations, and so on. And then with group, that's a space where coaches can be really creative and thinking about, I often speak with students in office hours and say group coaching is not different than individual coaching, except that you're asking the question to the group. People reflect individually. They might share with each other and then they report out. And on we go.
But they've all got individual journeys that they're on for their own goal, as opposed to a team which has got a common goal. And I think that's really how it differentiates. And it's just as true in mentoring as in supervision. You can do the same. And so I think the bigger piece of it is recognizing there's so much more space for coaching, because the world can be a better place with more.
Yes. Yes. And I so appreciated, as always, that the ICF has taken a really strong stance around equality, oppression, systemic inequality, and really defining for folks, hey, this rock that we live on has not created equal opportunity for all. Yeah, everyone's capable of change and growth, but the influences and circumstances that folks are subject to are very, very different. And that there seems to be more of a drilling down on helping coaches to begin to recognize the influence of intersectional difference.
Well, I think, again, that coaching space is broadened so much that there's a real, awakening that it can change. I can't change the way you think. You can change the way you think. But I can allow you to be exposed to different ideas, if you're willing to be exposed to different ideas. And I think, back to this, if I tell you how I want you to think, how likely are you to think different? But if through our work together, you're exposed to different learnings that create different ideas, how likely are you to think differently?
Exactly. And that's the name of the game, is how are we able to think differently, act differently, march differently to change our experience in the world.
Well, I mean, the core values of the ICF, which I, again, link back to the ethics piece. Professionalism is a commitment to coaching mindset. What is coaching mindset? Coaching mindset is that the client has the wisdom. There it is, right? Professional quality that encompasses responsibility, respect, integrity, competence, and excellence. I'm always going to want to be the best coach for you. If I can't be, I will recuse myself and I will help you find the best coach for you. And so that feeds to that, right? Collaboration, which is really about that, the commitment to developing social connection and community building. If I can't be the best community for you, I'll help you find it. And hopefully I'm going to figure out how to be the better community. But, it's like, I'm going to be the best version of me in this space. Humanity, it's a commitment to being humane, kind, compassionate, and respectful toward others. Not nice, kind. Because nice can be, you could call it, there's all kinds of nice. But kindness is what comes from within. Because I could actually have to tell you bad news in a kind way.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then that equity piece, it's a commitment to using coaching mindset to explore and understand basically the nuances, right? The needs of others. So I can practice equitable processes at all times that create equality for all. It's all, I call it's like good coach behavior, good citizen behavior, and fundamentally good human behavior.
And that's such an important point to really kind of land on, is that this code of ethics is for us in order to stand on top of our own values and in order to stand on top of the values of our craft. And it's not only protective, it's bolstering.
Well, and a lot of times, I speak at some chapters out around ICF world in the United States, and I typically have some case studies that I offer up, and we break into groups. And the reality of these case studies is there's no right and wrong answer. It's what's your answer for you? Because it's your chance to sit with your ethics and determine how you would handle a situation if it was there for you. And it's situations that are fairly common.
Yeah, and they are. And I think, too, that what the point that you just raised is so important for coaches, is that in coaching, there is no right or wrong answer writ large. Everything is nuanced. Everything is situational. Everything is in service of the client.
Yeah. And one of the biggest questions is, what is this to you, client? When you say that, what is that to you? Right? What's going on for you with this? Because I know I might have my own ideas about what's going on for me. But the reality of it is I'm more curious about what's going on with you. And if you can't sit in curiosity and not judgment, then that's not the client for you.
And that there we are. If we're following the code of ethics, we are looking for alignment, client focus, client direction, client reporting.
Yeah. I call it client driven, client directed, and client enacted, because they're doing the work that they are coming up with on their own through coaching with you. They're not doing the work that you're telling them to do because you've come up with it for them. And there's the difference.
All right. So as folks are looking out into the future, and we have all of our Lumia students who are preparing for that ACC exam or PCC exam, what do you think the best resources are for folks to wrap their head around this? Obviously, there is the code of ethics themselves. There used to be interpretive statements, and then they changed the name of the interpretive statements. So, and that was a tremendous resource.
I think the bigger piece of it is, if you're studying for the ACC exam, it's a multiple choice, and it's going to be one right answer. It will be what you see in the code of ethics and the competencies, and there's no surprises there. It's all going to be what you see through Lumia. Our quizzes mirror very closely what is going on with the ACC exam. With the PCC exam, it's going to be best right. It's the best answer and worst answer. And some of it comes back to what I call remembering the mortal sins, right? Are you judging the client? Are you focusing on the coach? Are you telling the client what to do? Are you setting the agenda? Those are ethically, and coaching wise, kind of the mortal sins of coaching, because we hold that the client has the wisdom. And so the best way to hold yourself is accepting that the client makes the decisions. and it's not about the coach.
Absolutely.
So the questions they're going to ask, it's typically what's the best answer for the client? What's the worst answer for the client?
Yep. And that's a beautiful frame. And so I think folks are in good shape. What we need to know is that these changes are not going to impact examination. These changes are not going to impact assessment. These changes are informational, and they're changing the tone and tenor and way that coaching is explained to us as coaches and then to the world at large.
I think the bigger piece is trying to put it into terms that everybody can get around, right? So again, the Code of Ethics is not a standalone document that you just read, well, here's the rules of coaching. It's an integrated document that aligns with the ICF core values. The competencies will better reflect as part of this ecosystem when they redo them. But they're not going to change substantially. They're going to change the way they're worded because they are what they are.
They are what they are. And everything will build upon itself, and we'll all keep going and rocking and rolling and changing the process.
Be the best version of you as a coach, not as a mentor, not as a consultant, not as an advisor, a coach.
Bonnie, thank you so much. It's been
my pleasure.
Absolute pleasure. And we'll do it again soon.
Thanks for listening to Everything Life Coaching. If today's episode has inspired you to take the next step in your coaching journey, I invite you to explore what Lumia Coach Training has to offer. Our comprehensive coach training program can help you turn your passion and gifts for helping others into a thriving career. Ready to learn more? Book a no-obligation call with our admissions team today. Just visit lumiacoaching.com/everything and click on the Book a Call button. We'd love to hear your story and show you how Lumia can support your coaching goals. And if you're waiting for a sign to take the next step, this is it.